Dear friend, I hope this letter finds you well. I'm writing to you today because I've heard you've been hard on yourself recently. I'd like to share a perspective with you that may help you be kinder to yourself. You are a reflective being. You've done enough work to recognize your failures and your flaws. You're well aware of behaviors that don't align with your values and your goals. In conversations, you know as soon as those words leave your mouth that you have not chosen them correctly. You meticulously analyze conversations over and over, go well past their ending, and update yourself accordingly, like if you were some system that needs updates. You are a rational being. You like to think things through logically and tend to disregard the way that you feel because you feel that emotions just get in the way of your goals. You've practiced the principles of stoicism and mindfulness such that when emotions do come up, you're able to dismiss them quickly and disregard them as just passing, fleeting thoughts. However, these beautiful and strong traits that you've worked on diligently are double-edged. Under the desire to be something better, something new, lies this distaste of your current self. Your pursuit of growth may lie more in self-hatred rather than genuine desire to be a better person or a love for who you're becoming. Thus, your reflection and rationality cut and scar rather than prune and tend with care. In this letter, I'd like to equip you with a new tool, a new weapon that may serve you more effectively. I'd also like to share it in a way that resonates with you, in a language that will resonate with you. Today, I will present to you the scientific case for self-compassion. You may have heard of the Japanese saying, "It is better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war." I hope that this principle of self-compassion will turn you into both a warrior and a gardener, so that you may face the battles that are to come and learn to enjoy the moments of peace. Self-compassion refers to the way that we relate to ourselves in instances of perceived failure, inadequacy, and/or personal suffering. Compassion is defined as the feelings that arise witnessing another's suffering that motivates a subsequent desire to help and produce change. When applied to our own mental turmoil, self-compassion requires both the strength and the vulnerability to be present with our pain, rather than avoiding or resisting it. Like compassion with others, self-compassion fuels connection rather than isolation, pity, or feelings of sorry for ourselves. Ultimately, self-compassion is the decision to be curious and kind in moments of suffering over being judgmental. You choose to be your own best friend. You, the optimizing, efficiency-seeking, rational person that you are, may be coming up with a few objections already. Self-compassion is soft. Bearing down in suffering provides resilience and the strength to get through challenge. Self-compassion will lead to indulgence and weakness. I don't need to be self-compassionate for success. Self-compassion undermines motivation. Friend, I love you, and you're wrong. So I'd like to walk through these one by one and show you that self-compassion is actually the most potent fuel for growth and success. First off, self-compassion is strength. You may see being kind to yourself as being weak, and that judging yourself harshly is somehow a measure of your strength of character. The harshness of your thoughts is somehow a proxy for your personal development. You know you're better than this. How can you be such an idiot? Why would you do this thing? Why would you say this thing? In reality, the opposite is true. Compassion can be a fierce decision to take care of yourself. Research indicates that self-compassion actually drives and provides resilience against mental states like depression, anxiety, loneliness that would otherwise detract from your lofty goals. The choice to be compassionate is actually the more difficult and arguably more noble thing to do. It actually takes an extra layer of metacognition and intelligence to choose compassion and equanimity over self-judgment. This is especially true if self-judgment is your natural pattern, your natural behavior. To surmount that is a sign of growth of character. Self-compassion fuels health and well-being. While you may assume that self-compassion means being easy on yourself and letting things slide, again, it's the lens by which we see self-compassion, and the opposite might be true. Self-compassion as a trait is essentially the commitment to loving yourself as a friend, loving yourself as the most important person in your life. In this sense, you wouldn't want to choose the short-term pleasure like eating a slice of cake or jerking off. Self-compassion is mindful of your patterns and weaknesses and chooses to make the decision that will best serve a future version of you, best serve that version of you you want to step into. Research shows that self-compassion is associated with more healthy behaviors, including adhering to diets, increased physical activity, decreased bedtime procrastination, seeking medical care when needed. Further, self-compassion can actually help regulate the immune system on a physiological level, heart rate variability, sleep quality. Self-compassion, this decision to stand up for the person you are becoming in love, will literally change you on a physiological state and help you deal with the problems that are naturally going to come up in life and help you reach the goals that you're trying to attain. And so the last one, this fear of losing motivation if you're too self-compassionate. Again, the opposite is true. You and I are often fueled by this fear of inadequacy. This fear often materializes itself as self-criticism. In theory, the fuel of self-criticism, of disliking the person you are now or the person you've been in the past, is a powerful fuel. It changes behavior by avoiding future slip-ups through this idea of negative reinforcement, which theoretically would protect us from things like external judgment. In practice, when we fail, external judgment is actually much less harsh than the internal judgment we serve ourselves. So rather than changing our behavior, when we are the opposite of self-compassionate or excessively judgmental, rather than changing our behaviors, we actually become more aware of our shortcomings. We become hyper aware of our shortcomings. And this paradoxically makes us mess up more or even delay action, which is going to keep us from becoming the person we want to be or keep us from the goals we're trying to achieve. We've replaced the fear of external judgment with a more harsh and more familiar pain. The devil you may know in this case may actually be worse than the devil you imagine. Research actually indicates that self-compassion is negatively correlated with maladaptive perfectionism, this idea that you have to get everything perfect, and that leads you to not taking action on the things that you want to do. And it's positively associated with high performance standards and a high level of agency. Self-compassion is also positively associated with a greater intrinsic motivation, self-efficacy, and a growth mindset, which are all such essential features in this journey of self-development that we're all on. Overall, self-compassion actually allows you to show up as the best version of yourself and run on this clean, sustainable energy rather than this energy whose flames will engulf you in the process. Self-compassion, when done correctly, will ultimately help your mental state, your motivation, and your health, and ultimately is the marker of a well-developed, secure, and equanimous individual. You understand your flaws, but rather than seeing them as reasons for why you currently aren't good enough, you see them as part of the human condition, a natural product of life. You understand that rather than berating yourself, sitting in the discomfort of failure with curiosity and kindness is actually going to lead you to meaningful growth. In those moments where you may have very well failed to live up to your standards, which quite frankly happens too often, choose to be a friend to yourself. You wouldn't tear into a friend for falling short on commitments. You'd sit there and have a conversation, a real genuine conversation about why it happened and how you can support them better in the future to be able to reach their goals and stay up to their commitments. You wouldn't call them weak or stupid or ugly or worthless or hopeless. So why would you call yourself those things? Why would you choose to label yourself with those things when you wouldn't do it to a friend? Self-compassion means giving yourself the same dignity as anyone else you love. Love yourself like a friend. Dear friend, I would like to challenge you to become a new version of yourself, one that is more self-compassionate. You now understand its value from a theoretical perspective, and I'd like you to try and learn from practice as well. Learn what this feels like on the inside so you know beyond just the cognitive aspects of it. You know how it feels, what it means truly to be self-compassionate. I'd like to share a few practices with you. First, I'd like you to complete a reframing practice. This can take anywhere from 15 minutes to half an hour. If you can do it right now, pause through the video and walk through this with me. If you can't do it right now, schedule it in your calendar. This is an incredibly beneficial practice. One, scientifically validated, and two, will help you connect with this self-compassionate side. Here's the protocol. Think of a time where you didn't live up to your standards, for which you can recall feeling shame or guilt or simply inadequate. On a piece of paper, take note of all the things that you have said to yourself, that you remember telling yourself and feeling about yourself. Look at them, assess them carefully. Are these things that you would say to a friend? Look at the paper carefully, then tear or burn it up. This is no longer the way you speak to yourself. Next, rewrite that story in a self-compassionate perspective. Really try and understand where that behavior is coming from. Be curious and focus on the sentiment that you are a human being. You have flaws, and it's the desire to grow is not the problem. The self-disgust is the problem, this self-hatred for who you are. So try and focus on this idea of becoming. Recognize the situation as an opportunity to grow rather as a hindrance to your success or a stain on your character. By acknowledging and working through this, you are actually proving to yourself right now that you are the type of person who wants to grow and become a better version of themselves simply for the sake of growth. Self-compassion is not a one-time thing. It can exist as a state, so this one-time mode of being, or a trait, a longer lasting mode of being, one that you take with you everywhere you go. So for the second practice, what I'd like you to do is celebrate yourself. Take 15 minutes to make 2 lists. The first list I'd like you to make is highlight your wins from this week. Celebrate every single time you chose to show up for yourself. As simple as going to the gym or resisting temptation for something you know you shouldn't do. How brilliant is it that you can stick to your commitment when a past version of yourself may have fallen through? This is positive reinforcement. You celebrate your wins from the past and as they come up. The second part of this activity is celebrate your wins from the past year. What big milestones have you hit? What challenges did a younger version of you dream of surmounting and that you finally have accomplished? You look down this mountain you've traversed and you see all the peaks that you had successfully climbed before. Celebrate yourself. Feel the love and joy of fulfillment, even just for a second. You deserve it. Dostoevsky famously wrote, "Man is fond of counting his troubles, but he does not count his joys. If he counted them up as he ought to, he would see that every lot has enough happiness provided for it." Eventually, friend, I hope that you can take this mentality into every win and challenge you live through. Decide to show up as the best version of yourself, and when you fall, you pick yourself up, rather than kicking yourself while you're down. You pick yourself up through love and compassion, rather than judgment, because God knows judgment doesn't work. I encourage you, friend, to take a second, every decision you make towards being the best version of yourself, and celebrate that win, as small as it might be. Smile, fist bump yourself, yell, even if it's uncomfortable. Every decision you make to celebrate yourself and love yourself, you are training your mind to be the person you want to be. I've struggled a lot with self-compassion in the past. I am getting better at it. One of my inspirations for this letter was Chris Williamson from Modern Wisdom, who's very open about his personal relationship with self-compassion. In one of his most recent videos, which I'll leave the link for in the description, he celebrates some of the milestones in his career. There's one sentiment that made me tear up. He said, "The last 7 days had been the biggest 7 days in my career. I deserve to enjoy it. I deserve to be proud of it." And I am. The "and I am" really hit me because often I don't give myself the permission to celebrate my accomplishments. This letter was just as much for you as it was for me. I think it comes from my background in faith as well, that your accomplishments, any good that you do, is not of your own, but it's of God working through you. And so celebrating yourself just feels uncomfortable. It feels prideful. It feels like a stain on your character. Any celebration is marked by sin, really, of the sin of pride. And so burying any sense of accomplishment has been the status quo, and I'm challenging that now because it's been an unhealthy way to live my life. And so this letter is a rebellion against this indoctrination and a rebellion against this past. As I submitted my final project for my master's degree a couple weeks ago, and just the other day when I got my final marks back, I really took the time to sit in the feeling of completing and sit in the feeling of reaping the rewards from what I had done. The itch to move the goalpost up to the next layer of the mountain, beyond the next set of challenges. It's real. It's real, and it's not a bad thing. But we miss out on the moments where we can look down from the peak that we've just climbed and enjoy the view. It felt good. All of the late nights that I put in, all the times I said no to going out, everything was worth it just for that moment. And it's something that I had never felt before. And so I'm glad that I can feel this growth, and I wish it upon anyone. Last thing, another wonderful feeling I've had in the past couple months has been the kindness and the support of this men's group that I'm part of, Peep the Drip. It used to be called Above Men. It's now called Actualize Academy. They did a little bit of a rebrand. I shared the sentiment with them, the sentiment of being proud of my accomplishments, and the congratulations and warmth that I received from these people is probably some of the most warmth I've ever received in my entire life. It goes to show that this journey of self-development is so much more fruitful when done with people who actually care. In those moments when we can't have self-compassion for ourselves, or we fall short in that aspect, there are people around you who can lift you up. If you're a young man in your 20s and 30s and are on this journey of personal development, I will tell you that it is so much better with people. If you are looking for like-minded individuals, a community of people to help you grow, I would love to hear from you. Shoot me a comment, shoot me a message. All my socials are below. I would love to get in contact with you, hear more about your story, share with you, and get you connected with this group. They have been so fruitful in changing my life, and I wish community upon anyone. All right, guys, thanks for listening. Love yourself. Peace.